We will never forget the sight of Lewis Hamilton climbing out of his car like a crippled man. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix mid-June saw many cars porpoising on the straight like they never did before. Afterwards, many drivers warned the FIA that they may end up suffering from long-term health problems if nothing changes. Besides the back and neck pains many drivers experienced in Baku, there were also issues focusing on the braking zones. George Russell said, "I think it is a matter of time before we see a major incident. I can barely see the braking zones because I am bouncing around so much, and when you go around the last corner, you have got walls on either side of you. You were doing almost 200 miles per hour, and the car is bouncing up and down on the floor. It's not a comfortable position to be in." After the Baku race, the FIA stepped in with a new technical directive that started during the French Grand Prix. The FIA would monitor the vertical oscillations, and once teams would go over these limits, they have to raise the height of their floor to prevent porpoising. Interestingly, ever since Baku, most porpoising issues have been solved. Even Mercedes, who sometimes experienced over 6 Gs in vertical oscillation during the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, seems to have been able to solve the porpoising issues after their massive upgrade at Silverstone. Despite a lack of porpoising issues the last couple races, Toto Wolff and Mercedes have been pushing and lobbying hard to change the regulations for the 2023 season. When asked by Motorsport.com why he still fights so hard to change the regulations despite a lack of porpoising, he said, "There is all this talk of lobbying in either direction, but I think fundamentally, what are we talking about?" The FIA has commissioned medical work on porpoising. The summary of the doctors is that frequency of 1 to 2 Hz sustained over a few minutes can lead to brain damage. We have 6 to 7 Hz over several hours. So the answer is very easy. The FIA needs to do something about it. Yes, we all have had limited porpoising the last couple races, but that does not mean that porpoising is gone or that it can't be worse at other tracks. I don't want any accidents and hear people say, well, now it is too late. Mercedes opted to increase the floor height by 25 millimeters, something that was opposed by 5 other teams, including Ferrari and Red Bull. The FIA now compromised by introducing a 15 millimeter floor height increase for the 2023 season. But were changes really needed? Why was Mercedes pushing so hard for changes? How will it affect Red Bull and the current generation cars? And who is likely going to benefit from these regulation changes? Let's find out. Porpoising is caused by the increased downforce levels the new floors generate. The 2022 cars have a completely different way of generating most of their downforce. Whereas the previous generation cars generated most of their downforce through their front and rear wings, the 2022 cars generate most of their downforce through the Venturi tunnels. This led cars to have floor designs that are flat and very low to the ground to maximum downforce levels. But what are Venturi tunnels? The Venturi tunnels are sections carved into the floor of the car. This creates a constricted area under the car through which air is accelerated. The accelerated air results in an area of low pressure underneath the car and creates a suction effect under the car. The faster the airflow underneath the car, the lower the pressure, and the stronger the suction downwards. When the cars reach speeds over 250 km per hour, the suctions become so strong that some teams experience a phenomena where the floor hits the track. When the floor hits the track, little airflow can go underneath the car. This increases the pressure, reduces the pressure differences, and brings the car back up again. However, when the car goes back up, airflow can move underneath the floor again. Pressure is reduced, and car is sucked back to the track. This process continues at such a rapid pace that the car is literally bouncing on track. This process is amplified when the teams drive on tracks with rough surfaces like Azerbaijan and Saudi Arabia. The last couple races, F1 has been racing on traditional and smooth surface tracks. This automatically reduced porpoising, Wolff said. Yet, teams better understand their cars now than they did at the beginning of the season. Teams also brought several updates to make their car faster and reduce porpoising. Mercedes, for example, has introduced several updates to their floor to structure the airflow and make the floor stiffer to prevent porpoising. So if teams are already addressing the issues themselves, are changes really needed? FIA President Ben Sulayem said, "Safety has the highest priority at the FIA. We have put a lot of our resources and time in analyzing the risks of porpoising and potential solutions. I have talked about this topic with all teams and drivers. Of course, there are different opinions based on their competitive positions, but it was clear that the FIA had to step in and prevent the drivers of any short and long-term injuries." The rule change of a 15 mm floor height increase is already a compromise, as Mercedes opted for a 25 mm increase. Besides the floor height, the new rule change also affects the placement of the diffuser and the stiffness of the floor edges. The opening of the diffuser will be placed higher, and the edges of the floor are reinforced. So how does this affect the current generation cars? To increase downforce, the airflow under the car has to be higher than the airflow over the car. An easy and simple explanation how teams achieve this is by adding VINs under the floor to streamline the airflow, resulting in faster airflow streams underneath the car. The goal of the teams is to create a flat floor that sits as close to the track as possible to reduce drag, increase the stability of the car by having a better placement of the center of mass, and to maximize the speed of the airflow under the car to increase downforce levels. By increasing the ride height, cars automatically have more drag, are less stable, and have less downforce. These regulation changes will initially slow down the cars as teams have to find ways to make up for the lost time. So who is most likely to benefit and who is to lose out time because of these changes? A team that is likely to be negatively affected the most is Red Bull. Their car experiences almost no porpoising, and Adrian Newey has mastered a low-drag, high-downforce concept, which gives them superiority on the straights and lose out little in the corners. Increasing the floor height has significant aerodynamic impact and gives other teams the opportunity to develop a car with the same amount of drag. This would limit Red Bull pace advantage on the straights. Christian Horner has been furious in his defense to limit the floor height changes as much as he could. He is much aware that his team holds certain advantages that are likely to disappear next season. But what team is likely to benefit from this? All teams that experience porpoising are likely to gain time as they don't have to make any concessions to their floor height anymore. In this case, it means that Mercedes is going to benefit the most. The new regulation changes offer Mercedes a chance to equal the playing field and bring them closer to the front runners. They often had to make concessions this season to give up on speed to make the car more comfortable for the drivers. Mercedes is also one of the slowest cars on the straight compared to Red Bull and Ferrari, which aims that they have more drag on the straights than the other cars. Increasing the ride height will help them get closer in terms of drag reduction and will help them limit the top speed difference. As they have been pushing hard for the introduction of this new rule, it might be that Mercedes' 2023 car development already aimed for a rule change and therefore has an advantage over other teams. It becomes ever more clear why Toto Wolff was fighting so hard the last couple months to influence the FIA. Although there are certainly medical reasons that needed to be considered, you might wonder why Mercedes was at the forefront to change the regulations. These rule changes also offer smaller teams a way to make the gap with the front runners smaller, yet no other team boss has so frequently talked about these porpoising issues. Christian Horner and Matt Binotto were united to reduce the changes to keep their own advantage over other teams. Horner said, "It is possible to build a car with almost no porpoising, and that if Mercedes wants to do something about it, they can just increase the height of their own car." Yet they often have difficulty giving in on speed to make the car comfortable to the drivers, but that shouldn't be our problem. Now we are punished by our good work and have to redevelop the car. Do you think Mercedes wanted to change the regulations in their own favor, or do you believe in the goodness of Toto Wolff, that they want to prevent medical problems for the drivers? Let me know in the comments section.